Welcome to the ReliTalks. Today we are setting out on a journey into one of the world's most ancient, mysterious, and beautiful spiritual traditions, Shintoism. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever stood in a forest so quiet, so alive, that it felt like the trees themselves were watching you? Or walked by a river whose flowing waters seemed to whisper something beyond human words? For the people of Japan, these experiences are not just poetic, they are spiritual. They are encounters with the kami, the sacred presences that live within nature, within the world, and even within us. Unlike many religions, Shinto has no single founder, no holy book, no rigid doctrines. Instead, it grew, like a tree, rooted in the soil of everyday life, shaped by mountains, rivers, ancestors, and myths that reach back to the dawn of time. So, where did it all begin? How did this way of life, this way of the gods, become the heartbeat of Japanese culture? Let's find out. Chapter 1. To understand Shintoism, we need to step back, far back. Imagine Japan thousands of years ago, long before skyscrapers, samurai, or sushi, isolated by the sea, covered in mountains, wrapped in forests and rivers. For those ancient communities, survival meant harmony with nature. The forests gave wood for shelter, the rivers provided fish, the rice fields gave food, the mountains offered protection. But these weren't just resources, they were sacred, they were alive. For these early people, every stone, every stream, every gust of wind carried a mysterious power. And over time, this reverence for nature crystallized into rituals, stories, and practices we now call Shinto. Chapter 2. Mythological Origins. The origins of Shinto are preserved in Japan's oldest chronicles, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki. And according to these ancient myths, in the beginning, the world was formless, chaos. From this chaos, heaven and earth slowly separated, and with them, the first divine beings appeared. Among them were Izanagi and Izanami, brother and sister, husband and wife, the primordial creators. Standing on the floating bridge of heaven, they dipped a jeweled spear into the sea. When they lifted it, drops of salty water fell and formed the very first island of Japan. They descended to this island. They gave birth to the other islands. And then to countless other kami, spirits of fire, wind, fertility, and rivers. But tragedy struck. Izanami, the mother goddess, died giving birth to the fire god. Heartbroken, Izanagi traveled to the underworld to retrieve her, but failed. Grief-stricken, he purified himself in a river. And from the drops of water that washed from his body, new gods were born. From his left eye came Amaterasu, the radiant sun goddess. From his right eye, Tsukuyomi, the moon god. And from his nose, Susanoo, the storm god. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, would become the central figure of Shinto mythology. She was the bringer of light, the nurturer of life, and the ancestress of Japan's imperial line. Through her, the rulers of Japan were not just kings, they were sacred descendants of the divine. Pause for emphasis. Already you see, Shinto was more than worship. It was the very identity of the Japanese people. Chapter 3, the Kami. At the heart of Shinto lies the concept of kami. But what exactly are kami? They are not gods in the Western sense. They are not all-powerful creators of the universe. Kami are presences, spirits, forces of nature. A towering tree can be kami. A roaring waterfall can be kami. Even a noble ancestor can be kami. Kami are everywhere. They live in the wind that rustles the leaves, in the sun that warms the fields, in the sacred rocks standing silent in the forest. The relationship between humans and kami is one of respect. We give offerings, we pray, we celebrate them with festivals. And in return, kami bring harmony, protection, and blessings. Central to this relationship is purification, the cleansing of body and spirit. Because life and death are deeply intertwined, rituals of purification restore balance after encounters with illness, death, or misfortune. Chapter 4. Shrines and Rituals. Over time, these beliefs found physical homes, shrines. Early shrines were simple, built from wood and straw, blending into their natural surroundings. But they weren't just buildings, they were dwellings for the kami. And to enter a shrine, one passes through the Torii gate, that iconic red archway. It marks the threshold, the crossing from the ordinary to the sacred. Inside, worshippers clap their hands, bow, and offer rice, sake, or small gifts. Through these rituals, they invite the kami's presence. Festivals, or matsuri, became the lifeblood of community. They honored the seasons, the harvest, and the spirits who sustained life. In these festivals, the line between celebration and worship blurred, because joy itself was a gift to the kami. Chapter 5: Early Japanese Society. By the 1st centuries CE, Shinto was inseparable from Japanese daily life. Farmers prayed for rain. Fishermen prayed for safe voyages. Families honored their ancestors with home rituals. And here's something fascinating. For centuries, there was no word called Shinto. It was simply the way things were, a worldview, a rhythm of life. The word Shinto, meaning way of the gods, only appeared later, when Japan encountered Buddhism and needed to distinguish its own ancient traditions from the foreign faith. Chapter 6: Encounter with Buddhism. In the 6th century, Buddhism arrived in Japan through Korea and China, and at first, it brought tension. Would worshipping foreign deities anger the kami? Would this new religion erase Japan's own ways? But something remarkable happened. Instead of clashing, Buddhism and Shinto began to blend. This process, called syncretism, meant shrines and temples often stood side by side. Kami were even reinterpreted as local manifestations of Buddhist deities. So a person could pray at a Buddhist temple and then join a Shinto festival the same week. No contradiction. Instead, harmony. Chapter 7: Medieval Shinto. During medieval times, Shinto evolved further. Shrines became centers of political power. Warriors prayed to kami before battle. Merchants sought blessings for trade. The Ise Grand Shrine, dedicated to Amaterasu, grew into the most sacred Shinto site, a role it still holds today. Thinkers and priests began writing about Shinto, responding to the influences of Buddhism and Confucianism. But Shinto never became a religion of dogma or doctrine. It remained a religion of practice, of rituals, of life. Chapter 8: State Shinto. Fast forward to the 19th century. Japan is modernizing. The Meiji Restoration begins. And Shinto takes on a new, powerful role. It is redefined as the state religion. The emperor is declared divine, the direct descendant of Amaterasu. Shrines become centers of patriotic education. This era of state Shinto bound religion and politics together. National identity and spirituality were fused. But after Japan's defeat in World War II, everything changed. State Shinto was dismantled, the emperor renounced his divine status, and freedom of religion was guaranteed under a new constitution. Chapter 9: Modern Shinto. Today, Shinto is alive and well. Every new year, millions of people visit shrines. Weddings are often held in Shinto style. Festivals light up cities and villages across the country. Even many Japanese who don't see themselves as religious still take part in Shinto practices, because Shinto is less about belief and more about community, culture, and harmony with nature. Tourists marvel at the beauty of shrines, like the Torii gates rising from the sea at Itsukushima, or the sacred forests surrounding Ise. And yet, modern challenges remain. Urbanization, declining rural populations, a changing world. But Shinto has survived for millennia, by adapting, by blending, by flowing like water. So, what does the story of Shinto teach us? It shows us a religion without a founder, without a single book, without a strict creed. It grew not from commandments, but from connection, from the bond between humans and the land they walk on, from reverence for ancestors, from awe of the sun, the sea, the mountain. Shinto doesn't seek to convert. It doesn't claim to hold the one universal truth. Instead, it whispers a simple message. The divine is not far away. It is here, in the rustling leaves, in the flowing river, in the rising sun, and perhaps in us too. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the origin of Shintoism. If you found this story enlightening, inspiring, or simply thought-provoking, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the ReliTalks. Because here, we explore the wisdom, the myths, and the traditions that have shaped humanity across time. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop seeking the stories that connect us all.